My name's Stux. I'm a professional Overwatch coach, and I have a few tips up my sleeve that might help you aim. Don't miss out on any future videos by headshotting that subscribe button and join the Discord to ask questions. In this video, I would like to talk about maximizing character damage potential and how target distance affects your aim. This is going to be a little complicated, so if you have any questions, make sure to join the Discord and ask. First, let's talk about how distance affects your aim, specifically tracking. Tracking is a somewhat continuous motion. Some track smooth, others track a little more stuttery. There's no wrong or right way, and both are affected by this the same way. In another video, I talked about how sensor position affects aim, and some concepts there are going to apply here. Obviously, we know that the enemy's movement speed doesn't change no matter how close or far away they are. However, the speed at which they move relative to our perspective changes. If a target is 1 meter in front of us and starts walking from left to right, he's going to appear much bigger, but he is also going to cross the screen much faster. On the other hand, as he starts walking away from us, the enemy character becomes smaller and smaller, and when he moves from left to right of our viewport, he is much slower. This has some interesting implications. At long ranges, it's a lot more about very precise mouse movements, whereas in close range, it's more about reaction time and hitting the giant target in front of you that is crossing your field of view at breakneck speeds. So now we know that aiming at targets is different depending on how far away they are, but how can this be applied in an actual game? It's about maintaining a constant distance to your target. So we know that aiming changes depending on how far the target is away. And in the video about first shot accuracy that is going to be uploaded later, we talked about how detrimental to our aim it is if the speed at which we need to move our wrist changes dynamically while we are tracking. The same applies with effective ranges as well. If someone is walking in a circle around you, distance remaining constant, aiming is going to be a lot easier than if they keep the same sideways momentum, but also are being moved backwards and forwards. Because that means that as they start going further away from us, our tracking motion has to slow down. And as they get close to us, the speed at which we need to move the mouse increases. This is bad because changing speed in the middle of a tracking motion is really difficult, and obviously we don't want to make aiming difficult. So especially with characters like Tracer, Reaper or Sombra, you want to try your hardest to keep the distance between you and the enemy consistent. On the other hand, if you want to juke the enemy, the best thing you can do is walk right past them. This way, the distance relative to him changes very quickly, which makes tracking you incredibly difficult. By moving close to your targets, you will make them run out of mousepad, if not fatigue their aim. Another thing is maximum damage potential. For some players, aiming at longer distances is easier than at closer distances. For others, it's the exact opposite. This affects how players play. Some players end up playing Tracer, but play from a very large distance because it keeps them alive, and it also makes it easier for them to land shots because they struggle with aiming at people right in front of them. This, however, has two downsides. On one hand, being this far away also makes it easier for enemy players, especially McCree, to shut you down as a Tracer, but it also means you won't be able to reach Tracer's full damage potential. In an ideal situation, Tracer can deal 480 damage with a single clip. That is, if every single shot lands in the enemy's head without any armor. We want to get as close to this as possible. Competitive players are always looking for a challenge, for a way to push themselves past their limits. So sure, getting close is much more difficult, but it is also much more rewarding. It allows them to deal much more damage. If there was no benefit to playing close as Tracer, no one would want to be close. This is actually interesting, because for projectile characters it's the exact opposite. Projectile characters want to minimize travel distance of their projectiles, so they try to get as close to their targets as possible, whereas hit-scan characters prefer to have a bit of a distance, at least in terms of how easy it is to aim. If Tracer could deal 480 damage with perfect tracking from 20 meters away, no Tracer would ever get close because landing shots is harder and you would also be much more vulnerable. But there is an advantage to getting close. You get the opportunity to actually one-clip people, something that's impossible after a certain distance. And most importantly, challenge causes improvement. If you play close range tracer, your aim is going to improve drastically faster because you are experiencing a much bigger challenge. So overall, try to keep your distance to the target consistent when you are trying to land shots, and always play at the edge of where your character can reach his full damage potential when playing hit scan characters, in order to reach the point where the balance between safety and ease of aim and hardness to hit and damage output are ensured. That's it for today's video. Make sure to subscribe so you can see the other parts of aim secrets and join the Discord community to become a part of something bigger. My name is Eostax, and I'd like to thank you for learning.